There comes a time when we all must ask ourselves a simple question: what will be remembered when I am gone? Not the clothes I wore, not the car I drove, not even the numbers in my bank account. What truly remains are the memories I leave behind and the legacy that carries my name forward. Life is not promised, but moments are created. Some people go through life surviving, others go through life living. The difference is simple: those who live are the ones who chase experiences, take risks, and turn their dreams into reality. Those who only survive are the ones who let fear silence their potential. The truth is, unfulfilled dreams turn to regrets, and regrets way heavier than failure ever will. I once heard a story of a man on his deathbed who said, "My biggest pain isn't what I lost, it's what I never tried." That's the tragedy of unchased dreams. Imagine carrying an idea, a vision, or a gift your entire life, but never daring to bring it into the world. That is dying with dreams. But when you step into your purpose, when you push boundaries, when you create memories with people, those memories become seeds of legacy that outlive your years. Memories are not just about trips, celebrations, or victories. They are about impact, the way you made someone feel, the courage you showed when the odds were stacked against you, the way you stood firm on your principles when compromise looked easier. That's what people will replay when they think of you. Legacy is not built in one grand act. It's built in the small daily choices: how you treat others, how you honor your commitments, how you face adversity, and how consistent you remain when things get difficult. Your legacy is being written every single day, whether you realize it or not. The world doesn't need more dreamers who never take action. The world needs doers who turn visions into memories and memories into inspiration. Dreams without action are empty, but memories built through courage are eternal. So live boldly, travel that road, write that book, build that business. Start that movement. Say what needs to be said. Love openly. Give generously. Don't wait until tomorrow to do what your heart is urging today, because tomorrow is never promised. One day, we will all leave this earth. The question is, will you leave with a heart full of regrets, or will you leave with a story so powerful that others continue telling it long after you're gone? Choose to die with memories, not dreams. Choose legacy over everything. Life got two choices laid in front of you every day. Either you move with courage or you move with fear. And when you move with fear, life becomes smaller. Your vision gets blurred, your world starts shrinking. But when you move with courage, even if you stumble, even if you take losses, your world expands, your story grows, and your life becomes worth remembering. Too many people die without ever living because fear kept their hands tied. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of losing something that was never meant to last anyway. But those who step out of fear, they build memories, and those memories live longer than any possession you can buy. I've seen people with all the money in the world, and yet when you talk to them late at night, when the noise fades and the crowd leaves, they admit they still feel empty. Because money filled their pockets but not their spirit. They built wealth but never built legacy. They stacked possessions but never stacked purpose. And purpose, that's what separates people who are remembered from people who are forgotten. There's a story I heard about an old man who worked all his life chasing money. He made enough to buy houses, cars, land, everything people around him dreamed of. But when he got sick and he knew his time was close, he called his family together. He looked them in the eye and said, "All of this, it doesn't matter. What matters is I wasn't there for your games. I wasn't there when you cried. I wasn't there to teach you what I learned. I thought I was building something for you, but I was only building walls between us." And when he passed, nobody talked about his cars. Nobody mentioned his bank account. They only remembered the emptiness he left in their hearts. That's what happens when wealth is the goal and legacy is forgotten. Living fully means you decide not to let fear steal your moments. Too many times we wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect conditions to make a move. But let me tell you something: perfect doesn't exist. If you keep waiting for perfect, life will pass you by. The only thing real is now. You got to take that trip even when you don't know how you'll afford it. You got to start that project even when you don't have the blueprint figured out. You got to speak the truth even when your voice shakes. That's living fully. That's collecting memories that will feed you when everything else fades. Think about it like this. Fear is like quicksand. The moment you give it power, it pulls you deeper. You hesitate once, then twice, then it becomes a habit. You start convincing yourself that safe is smart. But safe has never built anything legendary. Safe has never changed the game. Safe never created history. Every breakthrough you admire came from somebody who said, "I'm not letting fear dictate this move." And the truth is, fear will always be there. But courage doesn't mean you don't feel fear. Courage means you act despite it. There was a young boxer barely starting out. Every time he stepped into the ring, he was terrified. His trainer told him, "The fear you feel right now is proof you're alive. It's proof you're human. Don't try to race it. Learn to dance with it." That young fighter went on to win championships, not because he killed fear, but because he used it as energy. That's the difference between those who live fully and those who let life pass them by. They don't eliminate fear, they flip it. They make fear fuel their moves instead of freeze them. Living fully also means understanding time is your real currency. Money comes and goes, but time only goes. And when it's gone forever. Think about all the hours people waste scrolling through nothing, gossiping, waiting on opportunities instead of creating them. Then they wake up years later wondering why nothing's changed. But those who live fully, they treat time like gold. They know every hour invested in growth, in love, in building, is creating memories that can't be stolen. You can take someone's money, but you can't take the memories they made living boldly. Now let's connect that to legacy. Wealth is easy to measure. Legacy isn't. Wealth is counted in numbers. Legacy is counted in lives touched. You can build wealth in silence, but legacy requires impact. The truth is, if your money dies with you, you didn't really build anything. But if your vision outlives you, if your story inspires someone years after you're gone, then you built legacy. And legacy is the real wealth. Look at the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the artists who made history. We still talk about them long after they're gone, not because of the money they had, but because of the foundation they laid. They built schools, they changed culture, they inspired movements. They lived in such a way that their memory became a seed that kept sprouting even after they left this earth. That's what it means to build legacy, not just wealth. There's a saying, when you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice. That's the measure of legacy. What are people going to say when your name comes up? Will they say, he had a nice car? Or will they say, had changed lives, he inspired me, he gave me courage to chase my own path? That's the question you should carry with you every single day. One time I met a man who told me his biggest goal was to buy the most expensive watch. I asked him why. He said because people will respect him more if he wears it. I told him straight, respect isn't worn, it's earned. You can buy attention with money, but you can only buy respect with legacy. Years later, that same man told me he lost his watch, and with it, the attention, he said, I realized nobody really cared about me. They cared about what I had. That's the danger of wealth without legacy. It gives you a spotlight, but no foundation. Living fully is also about using what you have now to create something that will outlast you. Don't wait until you have millions to give back, to mentor, to create. Start where you are. Give what you can. Teach what you know. That's how legacy starts, not in some distant future when conditions are perfect, but in the small, consistent moves you make today. Your words, your choices, your sacrifices are all bricks being laid, and one day people will look back at that structure and call it your legacy. I want you to imagine something. Imagine being 80 years old, sitting in a chair, looking back at your life. What do you want to feel? Do you want to feel regret for all the things you never tried? Or do you want to feel pride because you left it all on the table? Do you want to remember how you lived scared, or do you want to remember how you lived bold? Do you want to see a pile of money that no longer matters, or do you want to see generations carrying your lessons, your vision, your name with honor? That's the difference between living with fear and living with fullness. That's the difference between building wealth and building legacy. The truth is, we don't control how long we stay here. We only control what we do while we're here. So if you're moving every day just to survive, just to chase a dollar with no bigger vision, you're wasting your time. Because nobody is going to remember how many hours you work. Nobody is going to care about how much you stacked if it didn't change lives. They will remember how you made them feel, how you stood on your values, how you used your gifts to make the world just a little better. That's legacy. I remember a teacher who worked at a small school with almost no resources. She could have left for a better paying job, but she stayed because she believed in her students. Years later, some of those students became doctors, lawyers, community leaders. When people asked them who inspired them, they didn't name celebrities. They named that teacher. She never got rich, but her legacy is richer than most people's bank accounts. That's proof you don't need millions to leave impact. You need heart, consistency, and courage to live fully. So here's the truth I want you to carry. Don't let fear cheat you out of memories. Don't let wealth blind you from legacy. Live so fully that your life becomes a story worth telling. Build so intentionally that when you're gone, your presence is still felt in every life you touched. Because at the end of it all, your money stays here, but your memories and your legacy travel forever. Growth never comes from standing still. It comes from stepping into places that make you uncomfortable, into challenges that test you, into risks that could either break you or build you. Playing safe feels comfortable in the moment, but comfort is the enemy of growth. If you look at the people who made history, who inspired generations, they all had one thing in common: they were willing to risk something. Risk their money, risk their reputation, risk their time, sometimes even risk their lives. Without that step, there is no story, there is no lesson, there is no progress. There's a young hustler who once dreamed of opening a small business. He saved a little, planned a little, but fear kept whispering in his ear. What if you fail? What if nobody supports you? What if you lose everything? He sat on his idea for years, and by the time he finally gathered courage, somebody else had already opened the same shop in his neighborhood. That's the cost of hesitation. Fear will always ask, what if you fail? But the real question is, what if you succeed? What if your risk becomes the seed that feeds your family, your community, your future? Taking risks doesn't mean moving blind. It means moving with faith. It means doing the math, preparing your steps, but still being willing to jump when the chance comes. Because opportunities don't wait around for the timid. They move on to the bold, the ones who are willing to say, I might fall, but if I fall, I'll learn. And if I learn, I'll rise stronger. Think about a seed. If it stays safe inside the packet, it never grows. It has to be buried in dirt, exposed to water, sun, storms, even darkness, before it breaks open. That breaking is painful, but it's the only way to become a tree. That's the same with life. Growth requires breaking through fear, breaking through failure, breaking through doubts. Without risk, you stay a seed. With risk, you grow roots, branches, fruit, and shade for others. There's a famous story about a man who had two choices: keep working at a safe job or invest in his own idea. Everyone told him, stay safe, don't risk it. But he believed in himself. He risked everything. At first, it looked like he failed. He struggled, went broke, lost friends. But he kept learning, kept adapting. Years later, his vision exploded into success. The same people who told him to play safe now call him a genius. But the truth is, he wasn't a genius. He was just willing to take risks they weren't. It's the difference. Risk separates the dreamers from the doers. You can dream forever, but if you never put skin in the game, you'll die with visions nobody ever saw. Risk is the price you pay to turn vision into reality. Now let's connect it with memories. At the end of your life, you won't remember the money you stacked, the things you bought, or the status you gained. You'll remember the risks you took, the experiences you lived, the moments you created. Memories outlive material things. A car depreciates, a house can be sold, clothes go out of style. But the memory of how you felt when you achieved something, when you shared love, when you stood tall against odds, that stays forever. I once knew a man who had everything money could buy. Cars lined his driveway, his closet was full of designer labels, his wrist carried diamonds. But ask him about the best moments of his life, and he didn't talk about any of that. He said it was the time he backpacked across a country with nothing but a small bag and a notebook. He said it was the night he sat under the stars with his friends, broke but happy. He said it was the day his child was born. None of that had anything to do with material wealth. It was memories that gave his life meaning. There's another story of a woman who worked her entire life chasing possessions. She bought a new car every couple years, upgraded her house, always had the latest fashion. But when she passed away, people didn't talk about her style or her cars. They said she was too busy for us. She never had time to sit and talk. Her wealth didn't translate into memories for others. It was just stuff that didn't carry her name beyond her lifetime. Memories are powerful because they're transferable. A memory you create can become someone else's story, someone else's inspiration. When you give your child an experience, they carry it forward. When you build a tradition, it becomes part of your family's identity. When you live boldly, people remember your energy, your courage, your presence. And those memories become your true legacy. That's why risk and memories are connected. If you don't take risks, you don't create stories. Safe living creates nothing memorable. Think about it. Nobody tells stories about the day they played it safe. People tell stories about the leap they took, the road trip they couldn't afford but took anyway, the business they started with nothing, the fight they won against the odds. Those are the memories that matter, not the things sitting in a closet. Even science shows us experiences bring more happiness than material possessions. You buy a new car, and for a while you're excited. But eventually it's just another car. You take a trip with people you love, you create memories, and years later you still smile thinking about it. That joy outlives the object. Think about your grandparents. What do you remember about them? Is it the shoes they wore, the furniture they bought, or is it the stories they told, the meals they cooked, the lessons they taught, the time they gave you? That's proof that material things fade, but memories stay alive. So ask yourself, are you building a collection of things, or are you building a collection of memories? Are you chasing possessions that will disappear, or are you chasing experiences that will echo forever? Here's the truth. The greatest wealth you can leave behind isn't in a bank account. It's in the memories you plant in others. Money can vanish, houses can burn, cars can crash. But the way you lived, the risks you took, the courage you showed, those live in people's hearts long after you're gone. I'll tell you about a community leader who wasn't rich in money, but rich in memories. He organized basketball games for the youth, gave them hope, gave them advice. He never drove the best car, never wore the best clothes. But years later, those kids, now grown, still talk about how he changed their lives. They say, I am who I am today because of him. That's proof memories outlast materials. His legacy lives on in them, not in anything he owned. So don't let fear keep you from risk. Don't let greed keep you chasing things. Take risks that build experiences. Invest in moments that turn into memories. Because one day, when you sit back and look at your life, it won't be the gold chain or the luxury car that warms your heart. It will be the memories of the risks you took, the love you gave, and the lives you touched. Life is fragile. One accident, one sickness, one twist can take away everything you own. But nobody can take away your memories. Nobody can erase the stories you wrote with your courage. That's why you gotta live bold, take risks, and chase experiences over things. Because in the end, it's simple things stay behind. Memories travel forward. Consistency is the quiet force that builds everything lasting. Anybody can get excited for a moment. Anybody can show up when things feel fresh, when motivation is high, when eyes are watching. But it takes a different level of discipline to show up every single day when no one's clapping, when progress is slow, when it feels like nothing's moving. That's where legacy is built, not in the big highlights people see, but in the countless hidden hours of staying consistent when nobody's watching. I've seen people start with passion, shouting about how hungry they are, how they're going to change the game. They push for a week, a month, maybe even a year. But then the grind gets heavy, the setbacks come, the applause fades, and they quit. They thought greatness was about a moment, but greatness is about repetition. It's about doing the same thing again and again until it becomes second nature, until it becomes who you are. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop doesn't change anything. 10 drops don't do much, but years of drops in the same spot can carve a hole through solid rock. That's consistency. It doesn't look powerful in the moment, but over time it shapes everything. Your habits are your drops. Your daily grind is your drops. Keep dropping and you'll break through mountains. Stop dropping and you'll stay stuck. There's a story of a writer who woke up every day at the same time, sat at his desk and wrote. Most days what he wrote wasn't even good, he admitted it himself. But he didn't stop. Day after day, year after year, he kept showing up. One day the right idea came, and because he was already in the habit of showing up, he caught it. That idea turned into a book that changed lives across the world. People called him a genius, but he said, "I'm not a genius. I'm just consistent." That's the truth about legacy. People remember the results, not the grind, but without the grind, there would be no results. You can't expect to inspire others if you can't even discipline yourself. You can't talk about leaving a mark if your effort is on and off. Legacy is built like a brick wall, one brick at a time, laid daily with patience and precision. Miss too many days and the wall never stands. Stay consistent and one day that wall will be too tall to ignore. Consistency also tests your character. When you show up even when you don't feel like it, when you work through pain, when you push past boredom, you prove to yourself that you are built for this. That's how self-respect grows. That's how confidence is created, not by waiting for motivation, but by building discipline. Motivation fades, discipline remains. Now let's shift into inspiring others, because the truth is your consistency doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone watching. People are always watching, even when you don't realize it. A young kid in your neighborhood is watching how you move. A friend is watching how you chase your goals. A stranger might be following your journey silently, using your courage as fuel for their own. That's how inspiration spreads, not through speeches or big moments, but through consistent action. There's a young athlete who trained every morning before the sun came up. His friends laughed, told him he was wasting his time, said nobody would notice. But one of his younger neighbors noticed. That kid saw him running every morning and thought, if he can be disciplined, so can I. That kid grew up to become a champion in his own right. Years later, when asked who inspired him, he didn't mention celebrities or role models far away. He said it was the guy from the block who he saw running every morning. That's the power of consistency, inspiring others. Words are cheap without action. You can talk about grinding, you can post about hustling, you can tell people to stay focused. But if your actions don't match your words, nobody listens. People follow what you do, not what you say. That's why the strongest leaders don't demand respect. They earn it through action. They live in a way that others want to emulate. I remember a man who never preached about giving back, but every week he'd show up at the same corner to hand out food to the homeless. He didn't record it, didn't brag about it, didn't look for credit. He just did it consistently. Over time, other people saw him and they started joining in. What started with one man became a whole community effort. He didn't inspire through words. He inspired through consistent action. Your life is a message. The way you move, the way you handle pressure, the way you treat others, that's the sermon people hear you every day. You don't have to be a public speaker to inspire. You just have to live in alignment with your purpose consistently and people will catch the lesson. Inspiration is contagious, but only when it's real. Legacy comes full circle here. Consistency builds your foundation. Action inspires others. Together, they create impact that outlives you. Think about the elders in your community, the ones you still respect. Was it because of a single thing they did? Or was it because they lived their whole lives in a way that set an example? That's consistency shaping legacy. That's action inspiring generations. One man plants a tree knowing he will never sit under its shade. That's legacy. That's consistency. That's action that inspires others to plant their own trees. And when enough people do that, a forest grows. That forest is your true wealth. Not just for you, but for everyone who comes after you. So the message is simple: stay consistent when it's hard and live in a way that inspires others without trying to. Don't chase applause. Don't chase validation. Just keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep living boldly. Because one day when people tell your story, they won't talk about what you said. They'll talk about what you did. They'll talk about how you never quit. They'll talk about how you lit a fire in them through your example. That's the kind of legacy worth leaving. A legacy not of words or possessions, but of consistent action that inspired others to reach higher. That's immortality not in body, but in influence. An influence built on consistency never dies. When the final chapter of your life is written, make sure it reads like a story worth remembering. Make sure it's not a book